Hi, and welcome back to my channel. It's very nice to have you back. I hope all of you have been safe and healthy. And today I intend to talk about how I was diagnosed. In case you didn't watch my first video, I have 5 diagnoses, and they are depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, dissociative identity disorder, and borderline personality disorder. So I did not get these 5 diagnoses in one go. It happened over a period of years actually. I got my first diagnosis when I was 20. I ended up in the hospital because of a panic attack in public, and I was brought to the emergency room, and they gave me an appointment with a neurologist for some reason. And so when I went to see the neurologist, and then they gave me an appointment with the psychologist as well, and then they gave me the diagnosis of depression and anxiety. So those are the first 2 diagnoses that I got, and those are the only diagnoses I got at that age, at that time. This was in 2008 when I was 20 years old. And then after that, in 2014, when I was 26 years old, I lost my memory and I couldn't remember anything. I couldn't even remember my name. I didn't even know who I was, and I was acting like a small kid. And I saw many doctors, many therapists, many psychologists, many different people. I really went to a lot of different places, and they could not diagnose me. They didn't know what to do with me. This happened in Singapore as well. And then I was completely like a child without any memory for about 3 months, and then with just little bits of therapies here and there from different doctors, I started getting better very slowly after that. And in 2015, I got a chance to go study in the USA, in Boston. And coincidentally, that was where I got my diagnosis for dissociative identity disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder, so PTSD and DID, because everything was going well until one fine day I fainted in class, and they had to bring me to the hospital again in an ambulance. So over the next 4 days, I was in and out of the emergency room every day. And on the 4th day, I apparently attempted suicide, but I don't remember anything that happened that time. And so they took me into the emergency room. I was there was police officers guarding me, and I was warded into the psychiatric ward for 1 week. And it was after that 1 week at the psychiatric ward that the psychiatrist who was seeing me there told me that, or she is the one who gave me the diagnosis of PTSD. So that means they already knew that I had depression and anxiety. So they kept that diagnosis and they added on PTSD to it, not the DID yet. At that time, I was still only getting PTSD. And so I was discharged, and I started seeing the counselor at my uni, the place where I was studying. It wasn't a uni, it was a business institution. So I was seeing the therapist there, and she was the one who gave me the diagnosis of dissociative identity disorder. And I had a primary doctor and a psychiatrist also set up by then in Boston, and they also agreed with that because of the amnesia that I was getting. So that is how I got my DID diagnosis. But there's a funny story about that, because they didn't want to tell me that it was DID or or anything of that sort. They just started working with me and referring to my alters as parts. And after like 1 or 2 sessions, I was like, why are they trying to talk to parts of me? Like, what is this? And then for some reason, I started thinking that, okay, is this multiple personality disorder? And I actually, on my following therapy session, I actually openly asked her, can I just ask you something? Do I have multiple personality disorder? Is that what you're referring to as parts? And she was so reluctant to say yes. She was she just said like, well, something similar. She tried her best to just push it aside and not have to have that conversation with me. I don't know why. It could be because that diagnosis is so severe that she was afraid that with my background of anxiety and depression that I might do something serious, like another suicide attempt, or or maybe it's just because of the stigma that surrounds that particular illness. But anyway, my psychiatrist and everyone else, they told me about it, and that's when I actually got to know that this disease is actually called dissociative identity disorder, or DID, and not multiple personality disorder, or MPD, because it used to be known as MPD, multiple personality disorder, but the name changed somewhere in the 70s, and I was very surprised that people still didn't know about that, including myself. And I think that's something that we should really start raising awareness about, because there are reasons why the name was changed, and I'll cover that in a future video maybe. So anyway, back to my story. What happened was that, and then I started getting treatment for the 4 diseases that I have, that is depression, anxiety, PTSD, and DID. And that was how it was going until I came back to Singapore in 2017, and then in 2018 I had to go to India for some reason I can't remember. But while I was there, I had to refill my medication, and so I went to find a doctor there, a psychiatrist there, and I went to see him, and then I had to repeat my whole story all over again with him. And then he gave me a new diagnosis. He was like, okay, you have borderline personality disorder. And I was like, okay, so now I have 5, so which is which, And then so I came back to Singapore, I took that diagnosis, I came back to Singapore, and then I went back to my psychiatrist in Singapore that I was seeing in Singapore, and then I told him that, oh, I got this new diagnosis, it's BPD, and my psychiatrist didn't deny it, so that's how I ended up with 5 diagnoses. So that's a very short version of my story. I hope to share the full version of my story with you guys someday, but not today. So with that, I will see you again in my next video. So stay tuned. If you have anything in particular that you want to hear from me, just drop me a message in any of my social media, or leave it as a comment down below. You can also check out my blog. Links will be in the description, and take care. See you. Bye.